This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome to another episode of Business by the Numbers. I'm your host, Hunt Demarest, CPA with Paar Melis and Associates. It's been an eventful week with some news coming out that I think all shop owners should know. There's been some new legislation, some new changes in the Trump administration, interest rates, IRS, and everything else in between is what we're going to get into this week. Before we get into that, I just want to stop and say thank you to you and the rest of the dedicated listeners. Remember, if you want to hear your question answered on here or just have a topic that you would like to hear me discussed, shoot me an email at podcast@parmelis.com. Want to talk to me about services that Paar Melis can offer your shop for accounting and taxes? Shoot us a text at 301-307-5413. And lastly, we cannot forget our dedicated sponsors, NAPA and Promotive, for being such loyal supporters of the show and the network. If you need a new shop management software, give Trax a call. If you need to hire their next rock star for your team, give Promotive a call. Hey, did you know that NAPA Trax is on-site training plus 6 days a week support? It all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. Visit them online at napatrax.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. It's time to hire a superstar for your business. What a grind you have in front of you. Great news, you don't have to go at it alone. Introducing Promotive, a full-service staffing solution for your shop. Let them do the heavy lifting and enlist your hiring partner online at gopromotive.com. I like to do these episodes every once in a while because this is, kind of the stuff that I'm interested in. I read the news, I read financial news. A lot of this has to do with my job. Some of the stuff that we're going to talk about this week is literally having to do with tax filing. So that's directly related to it. And this is kind of the same thing. I'll go back to you guys is like, I want to kind of translate what's going on in the news and maybe put in layman's terms for something that is more complicated. But then what I'm doing for my business is saying, how will this affect my customers, which is you guys, which ultimately affects me. And so you guys should be doing the same of how is this directly going to affect your business, if at all? And then maybe even more importantly, how is this going to affect your customers? Remember, if your business is super healthy and it's doing great, but all your customers are broke, then how can your business truly be healthy? So all of this is interrelated. And yeah, we're looking at the news, but trying to put it through a lens of how is this going to affect us? How is this going to affect small businesses, automotive, and all of that? First things first, and I'm sorry that I have to keep on doing this. I feel like this is when we were doing the PPP updates, and every time I did a new episode, I'm giving you guys different information. But it's back. The BOI report, the FinCEN report. Remember that report that I talked about? It's for financial crimes. You need to disclose if you have beneficial ownership in any company. This is the same report we've been talking around for a year and a half. This is the same report that was dead, that was back, that was dead. The most recent memory is it looked like it was down for the count. It was shot down in courts in January. This has still been open. You could still be filing these reports this entire time. As of right now, it is back on, and they put a deadline of March 21st. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. If you don't know what this is, go back and look at my episodes. I've done a couple on BOI filings. There's even a link. I'll put this link on here too on how to do this stuff. Super, super easy. If you've already done it, don't worry about it. Ignore this, skip forward. If you have not done it yet, you more or less have a month, depending on when you listen to this episode. If you are listening to this in the summertime and you're saying this is June of 2025 and you don't know what this is, talk to your accountant, talk to your lawyer because the deadline probably passed. I know I'm going to get this question. I'm asking this myself with all of the things going on with this administration and the things that Trump is cutting, kind of the smaller government, less oversight. It's kind of weird that this is coming up, but this report was originally kind of thought of in 2018, which is under his administration. I don't know. We'll have to see on this. I don't know what they're doing with this. A lot of this information is something that they already have. But like I said before, with financial crimes and racketeering and money laundering, a lot of times it's easier to prove, hey, you didn't file this report to show us that you own that foreign entity than it is to actually go after that tax evasion case. I think that this is government overreach. I think that this is too much information. But guys, just do this. It's going to take you 5 minutes. You can argue the constitutional aspects of this later. The penalties are really big. It's like $500, $1,000 a day. It's massive for not filing this stuff, but just do it. If you got one business and you have a copy of your driver's license, it'll take you 10 minutes start to finish. It is a one-shot deal. So I'm going to say that again, because every time I talk about this, people come back and they say, Hunt, I already did this. Why do I have to do this again? You don't. It's a one-time thing. So if you filed this once already, you're done. If you don't know if you have filed this already, how you will know is if you go and file this again, you're going to get an error to say this is a previously reported entity. If you've already filed it, you're done. If you try and file it again and you get an error, you're done too, because it means you've already filed it once. If you haven't done it at all, like I said, look at the link on the YouTube video that we put on here. Do it. Do not pay someone to do this. Very easy. Now that we went over that, and again, by the time this episode comes out, we'll put a disclaimer if it's shot down again. But honestly, with as much of this report has been kind of going away, coming back, going away, coming back, personally, if it's me, I've already done this stuff for my businesses. I would recommend doing the same. That we don't have to worry about it ever again. It'll be the last update you have to listen to. Moving on and kind of under the same vein, I've had a lot, especially in the most recent day or two, to talk about some of the Trump tax plans. When he got elected, there was a lot of things, not taxing overtime, not taxing tips, getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of mortgage interest deductions, a lot of stuff. There was a big funding bill passed yesterday. I'm recording this the last week of February on this. And a lot of people thought that this was the tax plan. And it was still getting improperly reported to this minute that, yeah, part of his plan has already been passed. And we just don't know what it is. What this means, and this is a great example of what I want to try to translate for you guys. What actually passed was a budget resolution. Think of about a budget resolution of you going to your shop and saying, guys, we're going to do around $5 million in sales this year, and we're going to expect to spend around $4 million of that on expenses. And they maybe have a rough breakdown. This will go to tax. This will go to overhead. But you don't have anything else. Like how we do that, who's going to do this, what price we're going to do it at. None of that stuff has been figured out. This is where we stand. They've came out, and we all know the government, so they probably said, we expect to get $4 trillion in, and we're going to spend $6 trillion. How we're going to make all this work, we'll figure that out later. That's where things stand. What ends up happening after this is where those tax plans come out, because it all is, how are you going to pay for this? You're going to cut these taxes. We're going to increase this taxes. We're going to create this. We're going to extend these deductions. As of right now, there is still movement on this stuff. We still have absolutely no idea. The things that we do know is, I've talked about this and I'll bring it up again. I didn't think that overtime not being taxable was going to be on there. I didn't think tips not being taxable are on there. According to the early talks of some of these committees and things like that, it's all on the table. What I think is going to happen here in the next coming weeks kind of segues into our next conversation. Why does all this matter? Well, obviously, some of these tax stuff are going to make a direct impact on your business. Some of these tax could make a direct impact on your customers as well, too. We think a lot of this from the view of a self-employed person. Are you going to be able to do a pass-through entity tax? Am I going to be able to get accelerated depreciation on a new roof for my building? Those deductions don't affect most of your clients. And if we get rid of a child tax credit, or if we have an expanded child tax credit, that is going to massively change the behavior of your customers. When we look at this stuff, and again, it's too early, remember to look at it from your point of view and also how it's going to ultimately affect you, but through your customers. More of one that's going to affect your customers and the larger nation and economy as a whole probably goes hand in hand with these tax plans and how quickly they're going to actually be able to get something done here. The current federal funding runs out on March 14th. You might have heard about stuff like government shutdown, they run out of money. They don't officially run out of money, they run out of the ability to run out of money. It's kind of strange, but if you think about it, there's not a way that you could just have a clock and say, this is when you need to shut down. When the legislation is passed and they can't agree on a budget, they essentially get a deadline. And this deadline means, hey, if you guys do not come to agreement on a budget by this point, everything shuts down. We've heard this song and dance before. We've seen it. This is not something that we probably ever saw when we were growing up or my parents saw, because we just really never faced a shutdown and never really happened. But now, since we are currently on our 2023 budget, this has been kicked all the way forward. and they still have not agreed on this. Some of this was done politically. It's an election year. Why? We don't need to agree on a budget. Just punt it and have the next administration figure it out. What they have here is they have a tax plan that they're trying to pass. They also are trying to pass an overall funding and budget for most of this government that has already long been delayed. And they have a hard deadline at the end of April. Because what happens is March 14th can come and go. March 14th, they can say, you know what, we're not talking about taxes. We're not going to do any tax cuts right now. And we can't even agree on the overall budget. We are going to punt this one last time. They can get themselves another 45 days. But at the end of April, they have to agree on this stuff. Why is this important? Why is this concerning? Because this is a 2023 budget. They have been trying to agree on this stuff and get it passed since then. Generally, this is like in classical sense, this is something that's worked on for months and passed every single year. But they're coming up on almost 2 years of probably arguing on this stuff. And it doesn't seem like that they're very close. The reason of why I kind of bring this hand in hand with the taxes is, as we've seen in the past, the budget is a bargaining chip. So I think what we're going to see is the original tax plan that is laid out here is going to have everything under the sun that was set on the campaign trail. Tips are going to be on there. Who knows? But it is all going to be on there. Because you have to think that on the budget side of it, this is where the Democrats are going to have the ability to fight back some of the funding. Hey, you want some of these tax breaks, you have to make concessions on the budgets. I know you guys want it. I know you guys are asking. We're going to do an episode when they actually start to have some resolution on this taxes. But I will be honest with you, the first news, the first stuff that we get, I don't think they're going to be able to get this stuff passed. And they could get this stuff passed, but I don't think that they'll be able to get in entirety of all what they want that quickly just because of this other stuff going on. From a larger concern, we've seen this in the past. What happens if we do face a shutdown? What happens if they can't agree with this stuff? Not good for the economy, not good for our customers, not good for anyone. There's been talks that they could change this so that they can't kind of hold Congress accountable, or can't hold Congress and the American people kind of hostage on this stuff. But again, the people that can't agree on this have to agree on a law to make them agree on it. So it's something that is obviously an issue. I don't see it happening or getting fixed anytime soon. But yeah, it's on the horizon, and there's obviously some more volatility here in the next couple months. NAPA Trax was built from the ground up to make your business more profitable and efficient. They provide an extensive set of tools to increase and track profitability in real time. NAPA Trax offers the industry's best wholesale support, hands down. They train your people on site. Yes, on site. They also offer remote refresher training 10 times a week, and customer support is open 6 days a week. Give them a call, visit them, or join our Facebook community today to learn more. They'll prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. NAPA Trax is always customized and tailored for your business, whether you're a one-man shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Visit us on the web at napatrax.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. Is your recruitment process draining your valuable time and resources? What if there was a partner who could take your recruitment efforts off your plate? Look no further. Promotive is your ultimate solution for hassle-free staffing focused solely on the automotive industry. On the web at gopromotive.com. Promotive understands the challenges you face when searching for the perfect technician or service advisor for your shop. That's why we've developed a platform that takes the hassle out of recruiting. Michelle Tanzi from EuroClinic said, "I am a shop owner and recruiting new talent is so time-consuming. Promotive does the majority of the seeking and recruiting. They reach out to the candidates for you, and when they feel they are a good match for you and culture, they make the connection. They follow up throughout the interview process, and we make sure that the candidates are a good fit and the shop is a good fit for the candidates. I admire that they genuinely want both parties to win. They recruited and paired us with a solid B-Tech and Master Tech. Both left a dealership position and are still part of our team. We are very happy with the character and culture match, and both technicians have become valuable team members. Visit our website at gopromotive.com today and join the growing community of shop owners who have found their ideal team members with Promotive." Speaking of volatility, which I think probably could be the overall name of this episode, but the IRS. Everyone loves them. Everyone loves to hate them. What is going on with the IRS? The IRS, I almost am starting to feel bad for them at this point. They're in dire straits. They are facing even more layoffs. You might have seen the stuff on the news. Some of the agents, and these are armed agents. So like these are guys that are IRS enforcement that are going after like gangs and cartels. They are getting sent down to the border to help with border protection and stuff like that. Across the board, there's layoffs. They don't have anyone there processing these returns. They're even coming out and sending out notices. It is going to be slow this tax season. There's no way around it. There's going to be more cuts that go on there. So even the speed that we're seeing now is probably going to get worse. I hope I'm being pessimistic on here, but what that means to you. Be patient on your refunds this year. There's a good chance if you're getting a big refund, you're going to be waiting for it. Probably for the last, since COVID, honestly, every single year that goes by, people are waiting longer and longer for refunds. For the longest time, we're doing e-filing. If you got into the e-filing window, you generally got funded the next week, maybe 2 weeks if it was a larger one. Flash forward to today, if you have a smaller refund, for most of my clients, it's still going through okay. And if you have a fairly simple return, it's fine. Any of my clients have bigger refunds. These are just getting held. I have a handful of clients that have refunds that have just been held for a couple of years with no sort of response on this. Again, we all like to cheer. You're not going to get audited this year, but you might not get your refund either. You got to take the good with the bad. Good news on audits, bad news on communication. And again, ERTC still alive. There has been no talk of ERTC changes, tax law changes in this administration on it. The only thing I will give you on ERTC, as I've had a couple of you guys reach out and ask me about this, there is no magic bullet to get your money from the IRS. I didn't know that people were doing this, but some of these same guys that were selling you guys ERTC credits are selling you a supposed way to get in front of the line to get the money. If I hear of one, I will tell you guys about it. If there actually was one, you guys would have heard about it. There isn't any magic bullet. You just kind of hurry up and wait here. What we have been seeing on ERTC is I have probably about 5 to 10 clients that get maybe a quarter or two funded the first week of the month. We don't see a whole lot of ERTC action like weeks 2 through 4 in a month. First week of the month, look in the mail and see if you got. Can you call the IRS? Sure. Like I just said, though, you're probably not going to get on the phone with anyone. It is extremely, extremely difficult for us to get on the phone, and we have a different line that we call being professionals on it. But again, yeah, give them some grace on it. You don't need to give them a ton. One of the things that we talked about a ton during COVID, and obviously with some volatility, has been interest rates. And we haven't really talked about it much because there hasn't been much to talk about. And again, there's really no news on this. We don't really see any change in interest rates. We don't see any kind of prospectus for changes in short-term interest rates. But I love the Federal Reserve. And when I was recording this episode, the notes from last month just happened to come out. One of the big things that people have been speculating is what is going to make the Federal Reserve kind of soften up on the interest rates. Because they had been long hard of, hey, if the numbers for inflation, if the numbers for prices do not come down, we're not going to look at anything else. We're not going to look at it from a different lens, take it with a grain of salt. As these inflation numbers and as these prices have been extremely sticky, no matter how much they're increasing interest rates, they can't get these prices to come down. There's been a big push and there's been a big argument, mostly from the market and investors, that this is a different thing. We had COVID, we had a pandemic. You have to start to bring the interest rates down and some of these other prices will follow. Anyone that knows anything about economy would argue the opposite. That's not generally how this stuff works. If you make stuff cheaper, it's probably not going to get cheaper. But hey, this is the argument. And again, lower interest rates is generally good for investors looking to leverage their money. What we got today on it was the notes. It's a super strange thing, but when the Federal Reserve meets, they talk about it. We don't know about it for a month. Do other people know about it before then? Probably. It's probably the whole point of the delay, but that's neither here nor there. Pretty much what it said was, and it hadn't really been this clear in a while, it's a couple of these guys talking, and more or less they agreed of saying, hey, we don't like the numbers. We don't like the look of the numbers, and we are still committed to lowering interest rates at some point, but it's probably not going to be until we start to see some real changes. We had some bad numbers for January. Well, good numbers, bad for lowering interest rates. Looking to be decent numbers in February on this. What does that mean? What does that look like for your business? Obviously, you guys know the thing with interest rates. You guys know the pains that interest rates have on you as a business owner. look at your mortgage, look at your personal mortgage, and think about that from your customer's standpoint as well. High interest rates are good for savers. They're not generally good for spenders on this. And what we would expect to see is probably not a whole lot of movement on that for a couple months. I think if I'm the Federal Reserve, you not ask me what's going on. What does Hunt think's going on? This is probably completely wrong. If I'm the Federal Reserve with all the changes, with all the cuts going on, with all of supposed cuts and lowering of budgets and things like that, I think I'd probably see what that's going to do to the economy. Like maybe I don't even need to touch anything with interest rates right now. Let's see what the market, let's see what prices did with some of these pretty big shocks into the system. We have crazy real estate markets. I see that the average time on the market of some markets in Florida is like 3 times as long as what it was pre-2007, 2008 crashes. You look at DC. DC generally has like 1,000 homes for sale in the market. With a lot of these cuts, there's already like 4,500 currently, last time I looked. What will happen with this? Stock market's still looking good. The real estate market's still looking good. As far as we're concerned, we're still moving along. But what I see here is a bit of a volatile year, which kind of leads us to the wrap up here of maybe a little bit of a look back for last year and a look forward for this year. But what I saw last year was, for most of my clients, not a ton of demand. Most of my clients had to probably find new customers to do relatively similar amount of work because people were buying less. I think that this has been a tough economy, like we said, for prices, and it's really starting to catch up with people. But it was kind of a tough year for some. I would say the people that did well were the ones that came in lean and mean and were already pretty profitable, and they probably maintained that. The ones that did not do well were ones that were factoring or banking or needing to have 20 or 30% growth for their numbers to work. We had a lot of people that had really good years, but it wasn't a universally good year for majority of my shops. For 2025, like I said, the title of this episode should be volatility and uncertainty. And for all we know, that's what should be your outlook for 2025. I hope that it's going to be a good year, and I think that I would have all plans it is going to be a good year. That's what I'm planning for my business. But again, at the same time, you'd be crazy to not look at everything that's going on and be a little bit cautious here. Remember, cash is king. Cash can't go away, but profit can. Be cautious on this stuff, guys. Make sure you guys are making smart financial decisions. And yeah, we'll see what this year unfolds. Hope this was helpful. Please share this with friends. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at podcast@paarmelis.com. If you want to talk to me about our services at Paar Melis for your shop, shoot me a text at 301-307-5413. Thanks again for listening on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Don't forget to check out the rest of the shows on the Aftermarket Radio Network and on your favorite podcast listening apps. So thanks again for joining me on Business by the Numbers. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you all next week.
You've been listening to Business by the Numbers with Hunt Demarest on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Hunt on your favorite podcast listening app. Let him know what you'd like him to cover. His email is in the show notes. Hunt is all for advancing the aftermarket.